Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Remember Me uh, Daily Readings for Lent. And if anybody notices, I'm just going to start off with no, I don't wear the same shirt every day. Sometimes I have to film multiple episodes because I have a very hectic life. And if I miss like one day, if I miss like one day or whatever, like it's not going to get done. My life right now really is that hectic that I have to spend days where I'm recording them one after another, after another, after another. Because again, if I don't do it right, I'm gonna get so busy that I'm not gonna be able to. So anyway, let's start off. Right, it's the Tuesday after the first Sunday in Lent. Let me start with the reading. The customary excuse alleged against the necessity of almsgiving is that one has hardly enough for oneself, that one has a position to keep up, children to start in life, creditors to pay, embarrassments to clear, a large family to maintain, a thousand civilities one is bound to return. How, on one's moderate income, hardly sufficient to meet necessary expenses, can one spare anything for charity? Now I know that things are not the same for all, that expenses are greater in proportion for some than for others, that they are increased according to rank or birth or official status. But I do ask you, should avarice or should the gospel regulate the proportionate expenditure of a Christian? Do you venture to assert that your income, by the ill regulated use of which you exhaust your supplies, is an inseparable part of your position? That what tends altogether to make life easy is absolutely your right. That what helps to flatter your pride, feed your ambition, corrupt your taste, is literally a necessity? Do you maintain that because you yourself have been raised above the level of the crowd, that you are justified in entirely forgetting the simpler life of your ancestors and living on the same scale with those nobler or greater than you, maintaining the same establishment as they do, just because you can pay for it? If that is so, if emulation is to be the measure of your necessity, then indeed be self indulgent, be proud, be wasteful and ambitious, for then you have an excuse for refraining from charity to your brethren, and then only. This is for from Monsignor Massion. And anyway, whew, lot of reading. Um, this one was really easy to take notes on, but I wanted to give you guys a little bit of education. If you guys don't know alms, I'll define it for you. Originally, any temporal or spiritual work of mercy. Now any material gift or aid given in Christian charity to one in need. And let's go with what they were saying. Should avarice or should the gospel regulate the proportionate expenditure of a Christian? I'm gonna go out on a little tangent about this, thinking about this, right? Um, I think a lot of people make excuses when it comes to helping your local parish, and the way I view it is that people don't help their parish as much as they should financially. Yes, sometimes I look in the basket when they're doing the collection, and it's barely anything. And if you can, if that's the only thing that you can do, that's one thing. But I know for the most part, right? Like, come on, if you have a smartphone, right? Very nice smartphone, very up to date within the last 2 years, anything like that, right? You have a I just any smartphone, right? You have a smartphone and you're putting in like $5 in the basket, you should probably do more, right? I look at this primarily to funding your local parish because your parish, needs money, and especially traditional parishes, right? In the bad side of town, they're the last to get any kind of funding. You need to put more in the collection bin, right? I know people start, well, I have a life and I can't do this and I can't do that, but the reality is that, like, maybe we do need to sacrifice more things to put more money in, right? Maybe we do need to. And I've done it too. Everybody, I'm not, when I say these things, remember, when I say these things, I do it too. It's not to put you, not to point out and be like, it's you, you're the bad. It's not to do that. We don't do that here. Okay, this series is not for that. It's a general criticism. This episode is a general criticism of everybody, with myself first and foremost. Um, yeah, should avarice or should the gospel regulate the proportionate expenditure of a Christian? I think we went over that right now, right? And avarice is the inordinate love of temporal or earthly things, right? Well, I don't want to put money in the collection bin. I don't want to help my neighbor. I don't want to help this Catholic charity because, I got stuff to buy. Everybody said it. I've done it, right? And we should, since we're in the season of penance and removing ourselves from the world, we should do that. We should reject those kinds of feelings, right? And this continuing on, do you maintain that because you yourself have been raised above the level of the crowd, that you are justified in entirely forgetting the simpler life of your ancestors? Now, this book was published in the 1930s, I think the 40s, the late 30s, early 40s, during Depression time, right? So the priest is talking, in the middle of depression, in the middle of war, like, hey, what do basically, to put it in today's terms, like, you think you're better than your ancestors? You can't live a more humble life just because you didn't live like them. You don't have to. And today, in the year of our Lord 2026, right, this reality of living less, right, living a more humble lifestyle is a life that's, it's not a privilege anymore. This section, when it's talking about you not want to live like your ancestors, unfortunately, it's the reality of today. We actually do have to go back to living as some of our ancestors, right? That the economy is bad, wages are bad. It's hard, like, especially in the state where I live in. It's virtually impossible to get a house. You can't get a home, right? It's everybody, there's renters everywhere, and we're at this crossroads. Again, we're talking about crossroads. We're at a crossroads where it's like, you know, we're at a, like, to improve, we do have to kind of go back. We're at a time where it's like we can continue the decadence and try to live as successful or successfully as we want to, or we could start pulling back, and unfortunately we have to take one for the team. This looks like it's a reality for millennials and Gen Zers, that, like, we're who's gonna take the hit. Unfortunately, if you ask me, I think, my generation is gonna just not take the responsibility and be cowardly about it and just skip it and give it to the next generation, which is bad. We're already setting up our kids to fail. But to me, I think, as for those two generations that I mentioned, we have to go back. We have to take we it's not our L to have, right? It's not our right. It's not the life that is deserved for us. And I would say it is not fair, but we have to accept it. We have to accept these kinds of things. We have to accept the reality that, yes, maybe we are going to underwhelm, right? Maybe we're not going to get to the point that our parents did. Maybe we're not going to do better than our parents. That's where we're at right now. That's a reality. That's a sad thing. And me personally, I'm not above my ancestors. If I have to go back to doing certain things that they did, be it maybe sacrifice, and even still, we do our sacrifices, we're still better off, right? There's a lot of things that I can sacrifice from my life, a lot of things that I don't need to have if I humble myself, and I'll still be miles ahead of where my family was 100 years ago. Still, like I said, I can lose half the possessions that I have, and I would still be far better, right? Can you imagine asking people, give up half of your possession? People, oh no, right? So I can take a hit, but it is time to recognize that that cross to bury, that cross to carry, that cross of like, you're gonna have to live with the humiliation of maybe not being as good as your parents financially, right? We might have to take it. And we're not alone. The thing about it is that maybe we will get, maybe, get this here. Maybe we will be made fun of. Maybe we will be mocked. People will laugh at us. People will call us. People will talk about us behind our back. It, it's a reality, right? It's something that I've come to terms with. That people are already, maybe there are people already calling me a failure, right? And I have to live with that. But we're not alone in this humiliation. I have right here the statue. Let me get it closer to you. This statue of Christ, right? This is it's called El Divino Preso. It's a very popular devotion in Mexico. It's Christ as a prisoner, the divine prisoner, right? And I have him here because one, he's wearing purple and it's for Lent, and it's to remember, right? Lent is obviously to remember Christ, but it's also a good thing that he's here to give us to talk about this subject in general. Is that being mocked, being made fun of, right? Being disrespected. We're not alone in that. Christ is here with us, right? Christ did this, so we don't have to do it alone. I don't remember which day. I think it's the first day. I think it's the first. I think it was Ash Wednesday or Shrove Tuesday. The readings we were talking about. Christ did this already. He went out into the desert. He suffered already. He suffered. He did this as a man. He suffered humiliations as a man, and he did this so that we can look to him. So he understands us. This is the humility of God. This is the beauty of God, right? Even knowing, even God didn't need to come as man to understand man's struggles. He didn't need to, but he did this out of love. And he did this to say, hey, he didn't do it for himself because he knows already the difficulties of what it is to become man. He did this. He in a way, one reason that he did this, he became man and suffered as man so that when we are saying, you don't understand God, you don't understand because he took that away from us. God does understand. God's been there. Christ has been there for us. He does understand what it's like to be mocked, what it's like, yeah, what it's like to get that sort of, what it's like to have haters. God understands what that means. And he's suffering. He calls us to suffer with him. So in this time where we have to look at ourselves and say, where are we going? Are we going to have to carry the cross has been thrown on the ground? We have to be like Christ. We Catholics, we talk about how we want to emulate Christ, right? We read the book The Imitation of Christ. We do all that stuff. Here's our opportunity in real time, right? God gives us the cross, and right, we can be a different generation from our parents, from our grandparents, these two last generations who the cross was given to them, and I don't want it, give it to the next one. I don't want it, give it to the next generation. And now it's at we, especially, right, especially millennials, right, it's time to give up. Okay, I didn't make my dreams. You're not gonna. Okay, it's time to live a more modest life. It's time to be more humble, and it's time to accept. Is it unfair? Yes, it's unfair. It is unfair to throw a cross to us, a heavy cross, right? Obviously not as heavy as the cross that our Lord carried, but a heavy cross nonetheless, right? Is it unfair? Yes, it's unfair to do that. It's unfair that we have to carry, but this is why we're in a crossroads. What are we going to do? Are we going to carry the cross, take the L, take everybody's L, and just, hey, we're going down and we have to do this, right? Are we gonna take the L, or are we just gonna pass it on to the next generation? What are we gonna do? That is a Catholic message. What are we gonna do? We have a duty, right? The cross has been given to us, and it's a duty, but it's also the most humble thing that you can do is just take the L and just take the L and just, hey, it is what it is, and go down, right? In order for in order for the future to be bright, somebody has to take the L, and which is I know I'm going way far from what we were talking about here, but I think it's in the same thing about, you know, giving up or maintaining a certain lifestyle that we want because of our pride, because of, yeah, because of our pride, because of everything, because of vanity. It's, you know, it goes back to that. But what are we gonna do, right? We have to live humble. Like in order for, anyway, wait, hold on. Going back to what I was saying, right? Because I went on another diatribe, but going back to what I was saying, we talk about how um, we talk about the bad times make great men. Well, we're in the bad times, right? We're in the bad times. Are we gonna be good men? Are we gonna be good men, or are we just gonna continue? Who's going to be the good man, right? In times, in these bad times, who's going to be the good man? Is it going to be us, or are we going to just give it to another generation, right? And if we choose not to, if we choose to be bad men, if we choose to be weak men, not bad men, if we choose to be weak men and deny this heavy cross that's been given to us, deny the 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 L, right? To deny the going down, right? Going for the humble life and just realizing that, yes, success in that matter, you could be millionaires. It's not going to be for us. The bright future is not going to be for us, right? Are we going to be the strong men who take that cross and go down, right? And knowing that, you know what, we're going to take that cross and we're going to go down, never, ever being recognized for it, right? Jews don't recognize Christ. They make fun of him any chance that they can. They laugh at him. They call him a, right. If I remember right, they called him a revolutionary who got killed for his trouble. They don't recognize what he did, and they did 2,000 years. 2,000 years, our Christ has to hear this kind of nonsense, right? 2,000 years, they're never going to recognize him, and that's, I guess, the Catholic black pill that we have to take. We're going to take the L. If we take the L, no one's going to recognize us, and that's okay, because the only thing that matters is that if God recognizes you, that's the only thing that should matter. But anyway, yes, please try in this time of Lent to really think about living a more modest life, living a more humble life, so that we can grow spiritually and we can remove ourselves from the world. So, anyway, thank you guys for being here. Again, I'll pray for you. I hope you guys pray for me. And until next time,